My beloved, come closer. Not with effort, not with striving, but with the simple honesty of your breath as it is right now. Let the noise soften. Let the pace slow. You have not arrived here by accident, and you are not late. You are exactly where you can hear me. I know the way your heart hath been holding its questions quietly, folding them inward so no one else would notice. I know how you have learned to pause before hope, to hover at the edge of decision, telling yourself you will move when the moment feels safer, clearer, more certain. I have watched you linger at doorways, hand hovering, listening for reassurance that never quite came. This is not a rebuke. It is an invitation. There are moments that do not announce themselves with thunder. They arrive like a hush, like a sealed letter resting gently in your hands. The weight of it is not heavy, but it is meaningful. You can feel that something inside it is meant for you. Still, hesitation whispers. Still, the past murmurs its cautions. Still, you wonder if opening it will ask more of you than you have to give. Breathe, precious one. I am not here to overwhelm you. I am here to steady you. This is a moment of quiet alignment, a moment when your inner knowing and my gentle calling draw close enough to touch. Nothing is being forced. Nothing is being taken. You are being invited into clarity, into warmth, into a beginning that does not rush you but does ask you to trust. Stay with me. Let your heart open just a little. That is enough to begin. My child, hear the words again, slowly, without pressure and without fear. Don't hesitate. Open me. These words are not chime. They are not demanding. They are spoken the way dawn speaks to the night, certain yet gentle, patient yet unmistakable. This message comes to you now because you are standing at a precise intersection of readiness and reluctance. You have grown. You have endured. You have learned to survive spaces that once threatened to undo you. And yet, there remains a sealed place within you, a quiet chamber where longing waits beside caution. This is the place I am speaking to. I know how often you have told yourself that later would be better. Later, when you feel stronger. Later, when the risk feels smaller. Later, when the memory of disappointment has softened. But later has a way of stretching into distance, and distance can slowly turn into forgetting. Not forgetting me, but forgetting your own courage, your own capacity to receive. This is why the timing matters. Not because opportunity will vanish, but because your heart is awake right now. You can feel it. There is a subtle urgency in you, not frantic, not anxious, but alive. Like standing before a door you have seen many times before and suddenly realizing your hand is already reaching for the handle. Don't hesitate does not mean rush. It means do not abandon yourself in this moment. Do not override the quiet yes rising within you just to keep the familiar intact. And open me does not mean expose every wound at once. It means allow connection. Allow breath to move deeper. Allow light to enter at the pace you can bear. I am not asking you to leap into the unknown alone. I am asking you to notice that you are already being held. The hesitation you feel is not failure. It is a sign that something meaningful is at stake. But staying closed will not protect what is tender. It will only keep it hidden from the healing it seeks. This message is uniquely timed because you are no longer who you were when you last turned away. You carry more wisdom now, more discernment, more softness earned through endurance. The door before you is not the same door you once feared. It opens inward, toward rest, toward clarity, toward a deeper sense of being accompanied. Listen closely. Beneath the noise of doubt is a steadier rhythm, a gentle insistence that you were made for openness, not perpetual guarding. I am not on the other side demanding entry. I am here with you, hand over yours, reminding you that you do not have to wait for perfect certainty to take a faithful step. This is your moment to pause without retreating, to breathe without closing, to open not because you are pressured, but because you are ready to receive what has been waiting patiently for you all along. My beloved, before you take another step, I want you to know this with certainty, not as an idea but as a felt truth settling into your chest. You have been seen, fully, accurately, tenderly. There has never been a moment when your inner world was hidden from me, not even the parts you struggled to name for yourself. I have watched you carry questions that never found safe air. I have felt the weight of the pauses you learned to take, the careful way you measured your words and choices because experience taught you that openness could cost you something. I know how you learned to be strong by being quiet, how resilience became your language long before rest felt allowed. Nothing about that was invisible. I saw the nights when your thoughts circled without landing, when you replayed moments wondering if you should have spoken sooner, chosen differently, trusted more boldly. I saw the times you told yourself it didn't matter, even as your heart tightened just a little. I saw the longing you tucked away, not because it wasn't important, but because you didn't know where to place it safely. And still, you kept going. There were seasons when you did everything you knew how to do, and it still felt like progress moved slowly, like clarity hovered just out of reach. You wondered if you had misunderstood your own path, if perhaps you were meant to settle rather than expand. Those questions did not disqualify you. They shaped you. They refined your listening. They deepened your compassion. Nothing you endured was wasted. Even the detours held meaning. Even the pauses served a purpose. Even the closed doors taught your hands how to knock more gently, more wisely. You are not behind. You are not deficient. You are becoming, in ways that required time and tenderness. I know the parts of you that feel weary from holding it together. I know the part that wonders how much longer it must wait before ease feels natural again. I know the quiet hope you protect so carefully because disappointment once reached too deep. I do not ask you to dismiss any of this. I honor it. You do not need to present a polished version of yourself here. You do not need to resolve every doubt before being welcomed. You are already known, already recognized, and already received. Even the contradictions within you make sense to me. Even your hesitation has a story, and that story is held with care. Hear this clearly, precious one. The ache you carry is not a flaw. It is evidence of depth. The sensitivity you sometimes wish you could turn off is not weakness. It is perception. The longing you have tried to quiet is not asking to be silenced. It is asking to be met. I am not surprised by where you are. I am not disappointed by the pace of your unfolding. I am not waiting for you to become someone else. I am here with you as you are, recognizing the courage it took simply to remain open enough to listen. Let this knowing soften you. Let it loosen the grip of self-judgment that has followed you too closely. You do not have to earn permission to be seen. You already are. You do not have to justify your path. It has been walked with sincerity, even when it felt uncertain. Rest here for a moment. Allow yourself to be known without explanation. There is nothing in you that disqualifies you from gentleness, nothing in your history that places you beyond care. You are understood more deeply than you realize, and from this place of being seen, you are safe to continue forward. My beloved, there comes a moment that does not shout, yet it carries weight. It is not dramatic on the surface, not marked by signs or sudden certainty. It feels quieter than that, like standing with your hand resting on a door you have leaned against many times before, suddenly aware that it can open. This is that moment. A threshold is not the end of where you have been, and it is not yet the fullness of where you are going. It is the space in between, where awareness sharpens and choice becomes intimate. You are here now, not because you forced your way forward, but because life, time, and your own inner growth have gently brought you to this edge. You can sense it in the way familiar patterns no longer fit as comfortably. What once distracted you now feels thin. What once satisfied you now leaves a quiet echo. This is not loss. This is readiness revealing itself. Something within you has shifted, and it is asking to be acknowledged. The significance of now is not rooted in pressure. It is rooted in clarity. You are seeing more clearly what drifting costs you. You are noticing how easy it is to stay half open, half committed, telling yourself that this is wisdom when it is often fear dressed in patience. I do not say this to shame you. I say it to free you. Drifting feels gentle, but it slowly carries you away from yourself. At this threshold, you are being invited to choose presence over postponement, to choose engagement over endless evaluation. You do not need to know every step ahead. You only need to recognize that remaining where you are will require more energy than moving forward with trust. This is why responding now matters. Not because the door will disappear, but because your awareness is alive right now. Your heart is listening. Your inner world is aligned enough to hear the subtle truth that something is opening. Ignoring this does not preserve peace. It delays it. Clarity does not arrive all at once. It arrives as willingness, as the decision to stay awake instead of numbing yourself with delay, as the courage to admit that you want more depth, more honesty, more resonance than you have allowed yourself to claim. I know part of you worries that stepping forward will complicate things, that it will ask you to change, to let go, to feel more deeply than feels safe. But drifting has already been changing you, slowly, quietly, without your consent. At least this way, you are choosing growth rather than surrendering to inertia. The threshold does not demand perfection. It asks for honesty. It asks you to notice where you have been standing still out of habit rather than alignment. It asks you to feel the subtle pull toward openness that has been returning again and again, no matter how often you tried to quiet it. You are not being rushed. You are being invited to stop running from your own readiness. Stand here with me for a moment longer. Feel the ground beneath you. Feel the steadiness that has grown in you through every season you survived. You are not fragile the way you once were. You are not unprepared. You are simply cautious, and caution no longer needs to be in charge. Responding now does not mean everything changes overnight. It means you acknowledge that something already has. It means you stop pretending you don't feel the shift. It means you honor the truth that clarity is asking for participation, not observation. This is the threshold. You can linger here indefinitely, analyzing the door, recalling past disappointments, imagining future risks. Or you can place your hand more firmly on the handle, not to force it open, but to signal your willingness to see what waits beyond. I am here either way, but know this, precious one. Crossing with awareness will always bring you closer to yourself than drifting ever could. My beloved, before you move further, I want to name what has been standing between you and ease. Not to magnify it, not to give it power, but to loosen its grip by bringing it into gentle light. What remains unnamed often feels larger than it is. What is seen can soften. You have mistaken some of these barriers for parts of who you are. They are not. They are experiences you pass through, not truths that define you. Here is doubt, not the thoughtful kind that seeks understanding, but the quiet erosion that asks whether your inner voice can be trusted at all. Doubt learned its language from moments when things did not turn out as you hoped, when effort did not equal outcome, when sincerity was met with silence or misunderstanding. Doubt tells you to pause endlessly, to keep your heart guarded until certainty is guaranteed. But certainty was never meant to precede trust. It follows it. There is fear. Not loud, not dramatic, but subtle and persuasive. Fear that opening will expose you to disappointment again. Fear that choosing clarity will cost you comfort. Fear that if you step forward and things still feel hard, you will have no one to blame but yourself. This fear does not mean you are weak. It means you have memory. And memory, when left unexamined, can masquerade as wisdom. There is hesitation, born from responsibility. You have learned to consider consequences carefully, to think of others, to weigh impact. This has made you thoughtful and kind. But hesitation overstays when it convinces you that waiting is always safer than engaging. Safety, precious one, is not found in endless delay. It is found in alignment with what is true. There is confusion, amplified by too many voices, advice layered upon advice, expectations pressed gently, then persistently, upon your shoulders. You have tried to listen to everyone while staying loyal to yourself, and somewhere along the way, your own clarity grew faint. Confusion is not a sign that you are lost. It is a sign that you have been listening too widely and trusting too narrowly. There are external influences that taught you to equate openness with naivety, sensitivity with liability, hope with foolishness. These lessons did not come from malice. They came from people doing the best they could with what they knew. Still, they do not get to script your future. Hear me clearly now. None of these barriers are your identity. You are not doubt. You are discernment, learning, confidence. You are not fear. You are courage remembering itself. You are not hesitation. You are care learning how to move. You are not confusion. You are clarity reclaiming space. These obstacles formed to protect you at a time when protection was necessary. Honor them for what they offered, but do not let them decide what comes next. A guard who never stands down eventually blocks the very peace it was meant to preserve. I am not asking you to dismantle these barriers through force. Force only hardens them. I am asking you to notice them without judgment, to recognize when they are speaking out of habit rather than truth. You are allowed to thank them and still choose differently. You have grown beyond the season that required constant defense. The landscape has changed, and so have you. What once kept you safe now keeps you small. What once felt wise now feels heavy. That heaviness is not failure. It is feedback. Let yourself feel the difference between caution and avoidance, between wisdom and fear disguised as patience. You do not need to rush past these barriers. Simply stop mistaking them for your voice. I am with you as you do this. Gently, steadily, without self-accusation. The moment you realize that these barriers are not who you are, their authority begins to fade. And in that softening, space opens. Space for breath. Space for trust. Space for the next true step forward. My beloved, now that the noise has softened and the barriers have been named, I want you to see what has been quietly waiting for you all along. Not as a reward for endurance, not as a bargain for your faithfulness, but as a natural unfolding of relationship. This is the promise that was never rushed, never withdrawn, never placed out of reach. The promise is peace, but not the fragile kind that depends on everything going right. It is the peace that arrives when you stop arguing with your own knowing. The peace that settles in when your inner world no longer has to brace itself against the next demand. This peace does not numb you. It steadies you. It gives your breath room to deepen and your thoughts permission to slow. The promise is healing, not as a sudden erasure of memory, but as a gentle integration. What once ached sharply begins to soften. What once defined you loosens its grip. Healing is not forgetting what hurt you. It is remembering without being pulled apart. It is discovering that the wound no longer speaks the loudest in the room. The promise is clarity, not rigid answers, not a map with every turn labeled, but a clearer sense of direction within yourself. You begin to recognize what aligns and what drains you. Decisions become less about fear of mistake and more about resonance. You trust your inner signals again, not because they are perfect, but because they are honest. The promise is restoration, not a return to who you were before life shaped you, but an arrival into who you were becoming all along. You do not lose your tenderness here. You regain your strength alongside it. You do not abandon your sensitivity. You learn how to let it guide rather than overwhelm you. There is forward movement in this promise, but it is not frantic. It is the steady momentum of someone who no longer needs to prove their worth by constant effort. Movement born from alignment feels different. It does not exhaust you. It nourishes you. It leaves you more yourself at the end of the day, not less. Understand this, precious one. This promise is not transactional. I am not offering you outcomes in exchange for compliance. I am offering you companionship in your becoming. Relationship over reward. Presence over pressure. You are not being lured by guarantees. You are being invited into trust. There will still be challenges. Growth does not erase complexity, but the way you meet complexity changes. You no longer face it alone, and you no longer face it from a place of inner division. When you are aligned within, even difficulty becomes navigable. You may wonder if this promise is too gentle to be real. You have been taught to expect transformation to be dramatic, costly, and harsh. But what truly lasts often arrives quietly, like dawn, like breath returning after holding, like a hand you realize has been supporting you all along. This promise does not demand that you become someone else. It supports you in becoming more fully who you already are. It does not rush your pace. It honors it. It does not shame your past. It weaves it into wisdom. You will notice small shifts first. A lighter chest. A quicker recovery from discouragement. A clear no, and a calmer yes. These are signs of alignment returning. These are whispers of restoration already at work. I want you to know that nothing you have feared disqualifies you from this promise. Your questions do not block it. Your past does not negate it. Your hesitation does not cancel it. The promise has always been rooted in who you are, not in how flawlessly you move. Let this settle into you now, not as an expectation to manage, but as a truth to receive. Peace is not waiting for you at the finish line. It is walking toward you as you choose openness. Healing is not withheld until you are ready. It begins the moment you stop closing the door against it. This is what is being revealed. Not a distant hope, but a living invitation. And it is closer than you think. My beloved, now we come to a place that is often misunderstood. Surrender has been painted as loss, as weakness, as giving up control to uncertainty. But what I am inviting you into is not collapse. It is exchange. A sacred exchange, gentle and intentional, where nothing essential is taken from you and nothing untrue is asked to remain. You have been carrying more than you were meant to hold alone. Some of what weighs on you is obvious. The responsibilities, the expectations, the roles you step into without complaint. But beneath those are quieter burdens. Old guilt that resurfaces when you try to rest. Anxiety that tightens your chest when things feel too still. The pressure to stay vigilant, as if relaxing your guard might invite harm back in. These burdens did not appear without reason. They formed when you needed them. But they do not need to stay. Surrender begins with honesty, not effort. It begins when you admit, even silently, that what you have been gripping is exhausting you. That controlling every outcome has not given you peace, only momentary relief. That self-reliance, when carried too far, turns into isolation. I am not asking you to drop everything at once. I am asking you to loosen your grip, finger by finger, breath by breath. To notice how tightly you have been holding yourself together, and to consider the possibility that you no longer have to. This is the exchange. You release what was never meant to define you, and you receive what sustains you. Release the guilt that tells you rest must be earned. In its place, receive permission to be human without justification. Release the anxiety that insists you must foresee every outcome. In its place, receive steadiness, a calm confidence that you will meet what comes with support. Release the shame that whispers you should be further along by now. In its place, receive compassion for the pace your life required. Nothing is forced here. Sacred exchange respects readiness. You choose what to set down, and you choose when. Even your willingness to consider release is already movement. As you surrender, you may notice resistance rise. A voice that asks who you will be without your vigilance, your striving, your self-critique. That voice fears emptiness. But what waits beneath surrender is not emptiness. It is presence. You are not dissolving. You are arriving. What you receive in this exchange is not a removal of responsibility, but a reordering of it. You are no longer responsible for holding the entire weight of your life alone. You are responsible only for honesty, for responsiveness, for staying open enough to be guided. In place of stress, you receive breath. Real breath, the kind that reaches your lower chest and reminds your body it is safe enough to soften. In place of guilt, you receive alignment, a quiet sense that you are allowed to be where you are without apology. In place of anxiety, you receive trust, not blind optimism, but grounded confidence that you will not be abandoned in the unfolding. Surrender does not make you passive. It makes you receptive. It sharpens your listening. It allows wisdom to rise where fear once dominated. When you are no longer clenched around control, your intuition has space to speak clearly. I am not taking anything precious from you. I am returning what was always yours. Your ease, your inner spaciousness, your capacity to meet life without bracing for impact at every turn. Let this exchange happen gradually. There is no ceremony required, no perfect posture of readiness. Simply notice when tension arises and offer it, even if only for a moment. Notice when self-judgment appears and let it pass through without building a home. I am with you in this surrender. Not ahead of you, not waiting for you to get it right, but beside you, steady and patient. Every time you choose release over rigidity, something sacred shifts within you. You are not losing ground. You are gaining rest. And from that rest, you will move forward more freely than you have in a long time. My beloved, what unfolds within you is meant to find a home in the way you live. Alignment is not an abstract idea reserved for quiet moments alone. It is something you carry into ordinary hours, into conversations, into the choices that shape your days. This is where gentleness becomes practical and peace learns how to walk. Begin by noticing your mornings, not to control them, not to perfect them, but to enter them consciously. How you start your day teaches your nervous system what to expect. Even a brief pause, a single breath taken with awareness, signals to your inner world that you are present. You do not need long rituals. You need sincerity. A few moments of stillness can orient you more than hours of rushing ever could. As you move through your time, let peace become a compass rather than a reward. Notice what drains you disproportionately. Notice what restores you quietly. Alignment grows when you respect these signals instead of overriding them. You are allowed to choose what nourishes you, even when it requires saying no without explanation. Your focus is precious. It has been scattered by necessity before, pulled in many directions by obligation and expectation. And now, stewardship of focus means choosing where your attention rests. Not everything deserves your emotional energy. Not every demand requires immediate response. When you protect your focus, you protect your clarity. In your relationships, alignment does not mean withdrawal. It means presence without self-erasure. You are learning to stay open without abandoning yourself. To listen without absorbing what is not yours to carry. To speak honestly without rehearsing rejection before it arrives. This is a practice. Be patient with yourself as you learn. There will be moments when old patterns try to reassert themselves. When urgency returns out of habit. When guilt tries to dictate your pace. When you feel tempted to rush ahead or retreat entirely. In these moments, come back to your breath. Breath grounds you faster than thought ever will. It reminds your body that you are here, now, and not back in a moment that already passed. Alignment also asks for rest. Not rest as collapse, but rest as renewal. Build spaces into your life where nothing is required of you. Where productivity is not measured. Where you are allowed to simply be. Rest is not a luxury. It is maintenance for a sensitive, perceptive soul like yours. As you steward your energy, you will notice your decisions changing texture. You become less reactive, more responsive. You pause not because you are afraid, but because you are listening. And when you move with greater confidence, even when the outcome remains uncertain. Let peace guide you in small, consistent ways. Ask yourself, quietly, does this bring me closer to myself or pull me away? This question does not judge. It clarifies. Over time, the answer becomes easier to feel. You do not expect perfection from this alignment. Expect practice. Some days will feel steady and clear. Other days will feel messy and unfinished. Alignment is not a destination you reach once. It is a relationship you tend. Some days it asks for attentiveness. Other days it asks for forgiveness. Be gentle when you misstep. Harshness fractures alignment faster than any mistake. Compassion repairs it quickly. Each time you return to yourself without self-critique, you strengthen your inner trust. I am not asking you to overhaul your life overnight. I am asking you to inhabit it more fully. To let your inner peace have a voice in how you schedule, how you respond, how you choose. When peace becomes your reference point, your life begins to reorganize naturally around what matters. Walk this alignment into the real world slowly. Let it shape your habits without becoming another standard to live up to. You are not performing balance. You are learning how to live from within. And remember, precious one, alignment does not remove challenge. It changes how you meet it. You meet it with breath instead of bracing, with presence instead of panic, with trust instead of tension. This is how the inner work becomes visible. This is how openness becomes a way of life. My beloved, now we arrive at the place where everything gently converges. Not a crossroads marked by pressure, but a quiet clearing where choice becomes simple because it is honest. This choice has never been about forcing yourself into courage. It has been about allowing yourself to stop resisting what you already know. The choice is not dramatic. It does not require an announcement. It happens inwardly, in the subtle shift where you decide to stay open rather than retreat, to respond rather than postpone, to trust the movement within you instead of questioning it into silence. This is how real transformation begins. Not with noise, but with consent. You are choosing whether to keep hesitation in the lead, or to let openness walk beside you. Whether to keep waiting for certainty to appear, or to recognize that certainty grows as you move. Whether to keep guarding your heart as if it is perpetually at risk, or to honor the strength it has quietly built. I am not asking you to promise anything about the future. I am asking you to choose presence now. To say yes to the moment you are actually in, rather than the one you keep imagining you will be ready for someday. Readiness is not something you acquire later. It is something you acknowledge. This choice can be spoken, not for performance, not for reassurance from outside, but to anchor your inner alignment. Words shape attention. Spoken gently, they help your whole being orient toward truth. You might say, quietly or aloud, that you choose openness over fear, that you choose clarity over confusion, that you choose to trust the steady knowing within you, even when it feels tender. Let the words be simple. Let them feel like breath rather than effort. You might say that you release the need to hesitate endlessly, that you are allowed to open at your own pace, without apology, that you do not need to understand everything in order to take the next honest step. These declarations are not commands to yourself. They are reminders of who you already are becoming. As you speak, notice how your body responds. Notice where there is softening. Notice where there is resistance. Neither is wrong. Both are information. You are learning to listen to yourself with kindness rather than correction. Choosing does not mean the absence of doubt. It means doubt no longer has the final word. Choosing does not mean fear disappears. It means fear is not in charge. You are not erasing parts of yourself. You are reorganizing them around truth instead of protection. This choice will repeat itself in small ways. Each time you pause before closing. Each time you speak honestly instead of rehearsing silence. Each time you follow peace rather than urgency. These are declarations lived, not just spoken. I want you to understand something important. You are not being evaluated on how confidently you choose. You are being honored for choosing at all. Even the smallest yes carries weight when it is sincere. Even a quiet opening changes the atmosphere within you. If you feel unsure, let that be part of the choice too. Say yes with trembling hands. Open while acknowledging your caution. I am not waiting for you to be fearless. I am walking with you as you learn that fear does not disqualify you from trust. You may return to these declarations whenever you feel yourself drifting back into hesitation. They are not one-time statements. They are anchors. Each time you speak them, you reaffirm your willingness to stay awake to your own life. I am with you in this choosing. Not observing from a distance, not measuring your resolve, but present in the quiet strengthening that happens when you honor your inner truth. You are not choosing me instead of yourself. You are choosing yourself with me. So choose now, gently. Choose openness over delay. Choose breath over bracing. Choose to open, not because you are pressured, but because you are ready to stop standing outside what has been calling you in. And as you do, know this: each choice toward openness widens the path beneath your feet. Each declaration of trust steadies your steps. You are not stepping into emptiness. You are stepping into alignment. Do not hesitate. Open. My beloved, let us close softly. the way night gives way to rest witut resistance. There is nothing left to prove here, nothing more you must do in this moment. You have listened. You have allowed something within you to shift, even if only slightly. That is enough. Carry this with you gently, not as a demand to remain open at all times, but as a reminder that openness is available whenever you choose to return to it. You are not behind if you forget. You are not failing if you hesitate again. Every return is a beginning, and beginnings are always honored. When the world feels loud, remember this quiet. When old habits tug at your sleeve, remember the steadiness you touched here. When doubt tried to convince you that you imagined this clarity, remember how your breath softened when you stopped resisting it. Truth leaves a trace. You will recognize it again. You are not walking away from this moment. You are carrying it inward, where it can unfold at its own pace. Let it inform your tone, your timing, your tenderness toward yourself. Let it remind you that you are allowed to meet life without armor every hour of the day. I bless your steps with gentleness. I bless your choices with clarity. I bless your pauses with presence. May you feel supported without being rushed, guided without being controlled, held without being confined. And when you find yourself at another threshold, hand hovering, heart alert, wondering whether now is the moment, let these words rise again like a familiar warmth. Not as pressure, as permission. Don't hesitate. Open me. This is not an ending. It is a seal. A quiet knowing placed within you, waiting patiently for each time you are ready to open again.